Hi everybody, this is Oksana, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make this turquoise triangular stone-shaped pendant. And this is a pretty unique design compared to my other designs, I feel like, because it has this swirly bail and this actually dangles on the bail like this. And this beautiful piece of turquoise is from turquoisemousse.com, and I have a coupon for you for their website, so stay tuned for that. So let's get started. Today we're going to be working with some gorgeous turquoise cabochons. I haven't got to work with turquoise very much, so I'm very excited because it's so beautiful and I love the patterns in it. So this turquoise comes from Turquoise Mousse, and they sent me these cabochons as well as these teeny ones. I'll think of something to do with the tiny ones maybe for another tutorial, but I'm going to be making a pendant with one of these. And it's really high quality, really nice, beautiful, shiny, smooth surface. I think they're really great cabochons, and they're backed. Here's the backing. And Turquoise Mousse was kind enough to make a coupon code for you guys. So I'll post all of this down below for you. Under the video, so you don't have to like write it down. You can just click on everything under the video, but I wanted to show you here as well. So their website is turquoisemousse.com. They're also on Instagram, and the code they made for me is just Oksana, my name, and it's 30% off a purchase of 55 or more. So a really generous discount, and this is going to be good for 6 months. So let's go ahead and get started making a pendant with one of these. So the wire I'm going to be using is square copper. This is dead soft copper from Rio Grande, and it is 21 gauge. And so I decided to go with 21 gauge, which is a little thinner than the 20 that in a lot of videos you see me use, because the stone is quite small, and so I think it just pairs better with a thinner wire. So the size, the length that I cut myself here, it's probably quite long, but I just want to make sure it's enough to do like swirly decorative things. So it's about 13 inches, a tiny bit longer, but about 13 inches should be good enough. And your stone may be, you know, slightly bigger than mine, so this gives us some extra room to work with. And there's 3 pieces, and let me measure the stone for you as well. So another cool thing about these stones is their shape. I haven't done any videos, I don't think, with a triangular shape, so I thought that would be really cool to do. So it is just a little under 20 millimeters, so probably like 19 millimeters, which is less than an inch. It is like 3/4 of an inch, roughly. And I'm measuring it this way, like the longest side is what I'm measuring. And then I'm going to be using half round wire. This is, oh, wrong wire. This is the square wire. Half round wire, 22 gauge. This doesn't say the gauge, it says it in millimeters, I believe, on here. But it's all folded up, but it's just half round 22 gauge copper wire from Rio Grande that I normally use in my videos. And what we're gonna do, I'm just gonna keep this on the spool, just gonna grab myself the little wire end here, and I'm just gonna connect these 3 wires roughly in the middle. So if you kind of fold them in half, that means the middle is right here. I accidentally dropped one of them. So then you can unfold them, and here in the middle we're going to connect all of them together by wrapping this little end, and then you can wrap in the other direction with the rest, but I like to start like this and give myself a little end and wrap because it's like a little easier doing it like this with my fingers. And then once you move on to this longer wire, instead of wrapping it around and around, because it'll get twisted, it's easier just to twist the other wires and kind of like guide this wire Just making sure it's not twisted and just guiding it. So we're just gonna do this, just giving ourselves just a tiny bit, like this is plenty. Just making sure we have a good connection and these wires are gonna stay together. So I'm just gonna trim and trim. And then I'm gonna take my pliers, my Xuron pliers, and I'm just gonna push down on these little wire ends, and I'm gonna squish this whole thing down together. So this is the side with the wire ends, and this is the other side. You can push it together if there's little gaps. And the next thing that we're gonna do is hold it the side towards you, the side without the wire ends, and then take your pliers, put them roughly in the middle, and make a bend, little angular bend, like this, so that the wire ends are here on the inside, and then here on this side they separated because we did the bend, but that's fine, but this doesn't have any wire ends. It's just like this. So now it's time to take our stone, and you want to place your stone, your triangular shaped stone. You could use a teardrop as well. If you're using a teardrop, it'll obviously be more rounded here, and your gap will be a little smaller, but the key point is just to have a gap of some sort here. So you want to put it nice and centered like this, you know, so it's not like this. Just work it out so it's nice and even. And then once you do that, take your wires on, just put this down on the table on a nice flat surface, and go ahead and bend your wires, because this is going to be our frame, around the stone. So I'm just going to double check again. Just making sure everything is nice and centered and even. And then once you do that, up here where your wires come together, you just want to bend it from side to side a little bit, because what that's going to do is it's going to form these bends you see here. So when you take the stone out, it comes together here. All right, so then here at the top, you want to make sure that your wires are not crisscrossed, you know, not like that. Make sure that they're coming straight, not crossing each other over. So we have the 3 on one side, the 3 on the other side. Line them up next to each other. If you want to reinforce that little bend, you can press on it further with your pliers. But make sure that they are lined up in such a way that you have 3 on top of 3. Just like this. And then take your little round, half round wire again, and wrap it. I like to grab a little end of it first and just wrap it around, just to make sure that these wires stay together. So once you do this, this ensures that they're going to stay together now, and you can, you know, not hold it as tightly and kind of continue the rest of the way. So I'm just going to press on this a little bit. I'm going to slide it down. I'm going to take this little wire end, I'm going to poke it through, and I'm just going to pull on it and cut it. So now it's tucked away in there. We'll cover this part up so you won't see it at all, but I cut it so it's just right in there so that you can't get to it. Now we're going to separate the wires. So we have 3 and 3. 3 on each side, and then I'm just gonna take this frontmost wire that's right next to my little half round wire that I'm working with. And because you don't want to cut the half round wire, like if I cut it right now, it's gonna come up easily and stick out. Before you trim your half round wire, you really have to wrap it around like a single wire. So I don't really need my half round wire anymore. I've made the connection and the bail is not going to be up here. But before I trim it, to make sure it doesn't come up and unravel, I have to wrap it around something. So I'm guiding it and I'm twisting the frame and I'm wrapping it around. So since I'm wrapping it around this wire, I'm just gonna do it for a little bit and it'll be just part of the decoration instead of just having just a couple of loops there. But if you don't like the look of this, you can just do it on one of the back wires. Just wrap it like 2 or 3 times before you trim it so it doesn't unravel, and this way it'll be more hidden and you won't see. But I like the look of it, so this is just going to be part of decoration in my piece. I'm just wrapping it long enough so that I can make a little swirl, and it's going to have that textured look to it because of the half round wire. All right, so before I start doing things with this, all these ends, I'm gonna lock my stone in. So I'm just gonna grab my stone here. I'm gonna put it in, and I'll lock it in the back first. So you can use your pliers or just your fingernails to just raise up this backmost wire, separate it from the other two. And once it's separated, it'll be easier to grab with your pliers. And then I'm just putting a bend in it like this. So now the stone is trapped, and we just have to trap it on the other side, like that. Now it can't pop out the back. So what's left to do is to trap it on the front. So I'm just inserting my pliers and I'm making a bend. And I'm doing that on the other side as well. So now the stone is trapped on both sides, and on the front, because we're going to be having these wires go up the side, if your stone feels like if you push on it it'll pop out the front, that's not a problem. We're going to secure it even more in the front. Like mine, I guess this corner, if I push, this corner pops up. But because all these wires are going to be coming up here, they're going to trap the stone really well. So it's more important just the back. Lock it in the back. All right, so we're going to start with this wire here that's got this beautiful texture. I'm going to bend it this way and kind of form like a little loop with it like this. So now I'm going to use this wire next to follow it along, but here's an option that you have. Since this is square wire, let me zoom out here, this second wire, you can twist it for a really cool look. And so I'm gonna do that. You don't have to do it, and there's different degrees to which you can twist the wire. So for example, I'm holding the wire with my pliers and I'm twisting the piece, and you can see right now this is like a lightly twisted look, and the more you do it, the tighter the twist gets. And so what you can do for decoration is you can twist some of these wires to a different degree. Some of them can be twisted more than others, for example. So I'm going to twist this one a lot. This is going to be my very tightly twisted. See how the pattern's changing on the twist? So this is going to be my most twisted one. And then some of the other wires I'm just going to twist a little bit. All right, so now that it's super duper twisted, I love the pattern of it. It's so cool. I'm just gonna follow along this wire here, just following it along until we come here to this side. All right, so we have these two wires coming up together, and now we just have one more wire left on this side. So this one more wire that we have left, I'm just gonna bring it up and I'm gonna make a little loop with it. If you want, let me grab my round nose pliers. If you want to guide yourself to make it a little easier for this loop, you can put your round nose pliers in there and then just kind of bend it around so that it helps you make that little curve, that little swirl. So this little swirl here, just gonna bring it over, and I'm gonna trim this wire now. And the little end that we have there, I'm just gonna bend that little end inwards, and I'm gonna press down with my pliers to just push it in there so the wire end is hidden and out of the way. And here is what it's looking like. So now with the twisted wire that's coming up the side here, I'm gonna go ahead and make a little loop with it by just pressing on it with my fingers. And then this wire that's next to it, I'm just gonna guide it along so that they stay together. And now you can either do just the outer wire here, or you can do both wires. You can make a little loop with just this outer wire. Or if you don't like little loops so much, you can leave it just like this. It's totally up to you. I'm actually gonna leave this one because I like the look of that little bend there. So I'm just pressing down to bend it. And I'm gonna press on here as well because there's like a little gap there that I want that to be more closed up. And now I'm just gonna trim these wires. And I'm just gonna tuck these little wire ends in here. I'm just gonna press them in there. Kind of close up this little loop. So you can see what I meant by the front of the stone getting trapped in. There's like more wires trapping it in now. Just pressing this down. There's like a little bit of a gap here. All right, so now we have these three wires here. Let me put them in order. So one, there we go. 1, 2, 3. These three wires on this other side. So it's up to you, but if you like the twisted look, you can go ahead and twist some of these as well. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna twist the very first wire, but I'm just gonna twist it very lightly. So it's got like a slightly twisted look to it. And then, so that's the topmost wire. You can see comparison to the other one. This is less twisted. And then here, this one on the bottom, this one in the middle, I'm just gonna leave it as it is. And this one on the bottom, I'm gonna twist a little more just so it's different from that first wire. All right, so here's my three wires. We've got less twisted, plain, more twisted. So let me zoom back in. Let me bring those three wires back together. And let's keep working on the side of our pendant. So these wires, I'm going to bend them up, just straight up from where you can bend them, which is where the little connection ends. And I'm going to keep bending them until they reach the stone. All right, so once they've reached the stone, we have a nice little curve now like this. Then I'm gonna push on them so they don't move out of place, and I'm gonna bend them in the other direction, like this. Now here it's up to you if you want to make any little loops with your wires. So I'll just go ahead and make a little loop with this bottommost wire, or it's not the bottommost wire. I guess if you hold it this way it is. With the most twisted out of the three. All right, so I made a little loop. Now I'm just making sure that the other two wires are just like laying down right next to my little loop. I want everything to be nice and tight and together without gaps. All right, so that looks good to me. Now we're gonna bend it the other way, so up. And now I'm going to make a little loop in the innermost wire, which is the one that has the less twist to it, like this. So once I've made that loop, I'm taking that wire and I'm putting it in through this hole, through this gap, just pulling it through like that. And then it's gonna come here on the other side. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut it, but leave myself that little end. And then I'm taking that little end. See how it's kind of like wrapping around this wire? This is the back of the pendant and the back of the stone. I'm just gonna press that down so that wire end is hidden. It goes there inside and it's hidden. So here's what it looks like from the front. All right. So we still have these other two wires. And what I'm going to do with those, I'm going to put them also through the hole. So I'm giving them like a little bend so it's easy to pull them through. All right, I'm just making sure that they're together, not separated. And now I'm bringing them towards myself here, towards the front. And now, I just thought it would be nice to have like a little decoration here. So it's up to you if you make a little swirl with these or if you just leave it like this. Whatever you like. You can make this pendant more or less swirly, depending on your preference. I think I'm just gonna leave it like this, since this side already has two swirls and this side only has one. And you could have done this with this wire as well if you wanted to continue it and make more loops here. But I'm gonna leave that side more plain. So with my wire cutters, I'm just trimming that, which is gonna give me these little wire ends. And then all I need to do is just tuck away these little wire ends and secure that loop, secure these wires basically. I'm just pressing down on them. So now it's all connected and it's all secure. And then here is what our pendant is looking like so far. So what we have to do now is make the bail for this pendant. So to make the bail, I'm going to use one piece of the 21 gauge wire, square wire, the same one that we used, and this is going to be 12 inches long, which is probably a little long, but I like to have extra rather than running out. So I'm going to bend it roughly in half, and then I take my round nose pliers and I'm going to shape it around the bottom of them to make like a circle. So what I'm doing is I'm putting like a little bend with my finger to shape this wire in this little circular shape like this. So once you've done that, you want to just put these back together, nice and together, and we're just going to make a connection so that they stay together. But before we do that, this is very important. Before we do that, we have to put the bail on our pendant or we won't be able to afterwards. So just go ahead and just slide this on. And so it will hang like this. This will be the bail. All right, so now we're just gonna take the same half round 22 gauge wire that we've been using, and we're just gonna wrap it around just a few times here to connect these two wires. And the best thing to do to end this wire, because this is the bail now, everything is pretty exposed up here, so I'm gonna take this little wire end, I'm just gonna pull it through the bail, and here on the other side I'm just trimming that so you can see the little wire end there. All right, so now I'm just gonna press that down, and I'm gonna take so if this is our pendant, this is the front of it, I'm gonna take the frontmost wire and I'm gonna bend that forward and then the other wire back. So looks like this from the side. And I'm gonna continue with this wire. I'm gonna wrap it just around that wire that's pointing towards the front. This wire here. That's gonna be the other end of our bail that the necklace will go through. So just go ahead and do this for a little bit. This needs to be long enough for it to also form a similar type of circle. We're just going to bend this into a circle shape once we have the half round wire wrapped all around it. All right, so that's long enough now. I'm just going to trim that wire and just squish down this little wire end. So grabbing my round nose pliers again, I'm going to form a circle. I'm going to bend this around and down. So here's what it looks like. We have this wire still sticking up that we need to get rid of, and then this wire is coming down. So what we want to do is we actually just want to bring this wire all the way to the front. All right, so it's going all the way around, and depends on how big your necklace is that you need to fit through here. Maybe the clasp is quite big. It's really up to you how big or small you make this. Just closing it just a tiny bit because this should be big enough. It's a pretty big size. So we have this wire here on the front, and what we're gonna do with it is we're gonna bend it and we're gonna bring it around so that now it's all connected and secured. And before we do anything else with it, I just wanted to make sure that it was secured in place. So now it's just time to do some little swirly decoration type things. So I'm forming like a little loop with the wire and just bending it in a loop. Just trying to keep it centered here though on our bail, so it's not like too much to one side or anything. All right, so that's looking good. So what I'm going to do now is, this is quite long and it's going to be hard for me to work with it. I need just a little bit, so I'm going to cut it like that. So that'll make it easier for me to put it through here, because what we want to do is we want to connect it so that that loop doesn't lift up out of place. So see this wire? It's just going through, and that's how we're connecting it. We're wrapping it around this here. All right, so let me just straighten that a little bit. And let me press on this a little as well. I don't like that you can see it from the front sticking up. All right, perfect. So it's all centered and it's nice, and all we have is just this little end of the wire now. So I'm just gonna trim that. Too many tools in my hand. Trim that and grab my round nose pliers and just make a little swirl with this little wire end. You could just cut it really short and tuck it inside, but this is a pretty swirly pendant, so I want the bail to be swirly to go along with it. So I kind of squished the little wire end, made myself a little curve there, and now I'm just gonna keep going with it until I form my loop. And my loop is kind of sticking up in the air a little bit, so I'm just gonna press it down so that it's down on that wire, like that. So now from the front, we've got a swirly kind of dangle bail, and we just have this wire now to figure out. So what I'm gonna do with this wire is I'm gonna bring it to the front, and just for fun, I'm gonna give it a nice twist, since we have quite a bit of twisted wires going on in this pendant. Just thought it would look nice before we make any kind of swirls and decorations with it, just to make it nice and twisted. All right, so that's nice and twisted now. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to make a swirl with this twisted wire as well. So you can use your round nose pliers to help you, or you can just do it by hand. It's up to you. Sometimes it's nice to use the round nose pliers to like put it in place. I'm just holding it. So I can bring this wire over. So we could do the same thing where you wrap this on the inside and then you make another swirl. It just depends on how swirly you want this to be. Like, is this swirly enough or not? I think what I'm gonna do, because I like seeing this texture here with the half round wire, so what I think I'm gonna do is just end it here with the one swirl. But it's up to you. So I'm gonna trim it, leave myself a little wire end, Put that little wire end in there. Kind of bring it around. And I'm just gonna squish that. So you just want the little end to just kind of go around here, wrap around. Oh, mine's a little short, but that's fine. It still wraps around enough. And now this probably moved out of place when you were doing that. So let's take the opportunity to fix this whole thing up and straighten it all up. And now it is completed. And here it is on a necklace. That's what it looks like. And it's nice because it dangles on this bail and it can move all around. Here's what the back of it ended up looking like. And here's another one that I wrapped when I was practicing for this design idea. So this one, I just ended up making like a swirl here and here, which is something I didn't do here. Remember, I just brought this around and made like this nice little angle, but could do some swirls there as well. Up to you. But anyways, that's it. I hope that you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.